How did a charming young man with everything going for him turn into one of America's most notorious spree killers? Andrew Cunanan was born in 1969 in San Diego, California, in a middle-class Filipino-American family. He was the youngest of 4 children and was known for his intelligence, charisma, and ability to adapt to different social settings, which helped him establish relationships with wealthy older men, but he developed a habit of lying and living in a fantasy world. He dropped out of college and became a kept man to wealthy older men, using his charm and wit to live a lavish lifestyle. His descent into crime seemed to begin when these relationships started to fail, leaving him broke and desperate. Jeffrey Trail, a former Navy officer and friend of Cunanan, became the first victim in Cunanan's killing spree on April 27, 1997. Cunanan ambushed Trail in the apartment of David Madsen, another one of his friends and former lovers, in Minneapolis. Trail was bludgeoned to death with a claw hammer, suffering multiple blows to the head. His body was wrapped in a rug and left in David Madsen's apartment. Blood spatter covered the walls and furniture, indicating a violent struggle. Trail's murder marked the start of Cunanan's violent rampage. Police discovered Trail's body after responding to a missing persons report filed by his family. Cunanan was possibly suspecting that Trail and Madsen were involved romantically behind his back. Days after killing Trail, Cunanan turned on another friend, David Madsen, who was a successful architect and Cunanan's former lover. After killing Trail, Cunanan stayed with Madsen, leading police to believe Madsen might have been a hostage. However, after they left Minneapolis together, it became clear that Madsen, too, was in danger. Madsen's body was discovered by fishermen along the shore of East Rush Lake in Minnesota on May 3, 1997. He had been shot several times in the back of the head and torso, indicating the cold-blooded nature of Cunanan's spree. His body was found in a remote area, suggesting Cunanan had taken him there to execute him in isolation. After fleeing Minnesota, Cunanan traveled to Chicago, where he targeted Lee Miglin, a prominent real estate developer who is 72 years old on May 4, 1997. Miglin's wife discovered his body upon returning home. He was found tortured and murdered in his garage, bound with duct tape, brutally stabbed multiple times with a screwdriver, and his throat was slashed with a hacksaw, showing signs of extreme torture. Cunanan stole Miglin's Lexus and fled Chicago, using it to escape the city, marking his transition from targeted killings to opportunistic murder.
They found Lee Miglin with his throat slashed ear to ear and his feet bound with masking tape. The 72-year-old real estate mogul was on the floor of the garage behind his Scott Street home. But was he killed there? The medical examiner says Miglin's clothes were saturated in blood, but the area around the body was clean. That may suggest the body was moved. Police think Miglin was murdered between 2 and 5 yesterday afternoon.
He was a real estate tycoon, married to the prominent owner of a Chicago cosmetics company. Lee and Marilyn Miglin lived on Chicago's Gold Coast, married for more than 30 years. Tonight, police are still on the scene where Lee's body was found this morning.
Difficult time for all of us. I just arrived myself from Los Angeles, and we're all just grieving the loss of my father.
That Andrew Cunanan had used Lee Miglin's cell phone in the Lexus in the Philadelphia area. Obviously, Cunanan was listening to his radio, heard it, and said, "I've got to get rid of this car."
By this time, Cunanan had become one of the FBI's most wanted fugitives. On May 9, 1997, he murdered William Reese, a 45-year-old cemetery caretaker in Pennsville, New Jersey. Reese was an unfortunate victim, killed simply so Cunanan could steal his truck and continue his escape.
Not long after, Cunanan abandoned the Lexus at a cemetery in southern New Jersey. According to authorities, Cunanan shot and killed William Reese, the caretaker of the cemetery, then drove off in Reese's pickup truck.
Reese was found shot to death in the caretaker's office of Finns Point National Cemetery. There were no signs of struggle, indicating that Reese was caught by surprise. Cunanan stole Reese's red pickup truck after the murder, abandoning Miglin's Lexus in a nearby parking garage.
The FBI placed him on its 10 most wanted list.
A red pickup truck was discovered in a municipal parking garage on 13th Street. The truck, stolen by Andrew Cunanan, belonged to one of his victims. Detectives find Cunanan's clothes and clippings of newspaper reports about the earlier murders, and a key clue: a pawn shop ticket issued to Andrew Cunanan.
Finally, on July 15, 1997, Andrew Cunanan committed his most infamous crime that shocked the world. In broad daylight, he shot and killed the famous Italian fashion designer, Gianni Versace, on the front steps of the designer's mansion, Casa Casuarina, in Miami Beach.
You're looking at a live picture of the scene at the Miami Beach home of Gianni Versace. The police say they have only one suspect in Versace's murder. His name is Andrew Cunanan.
Versace had just returned from a morning walk to a nearby cafe. As he reached the steps of his home, Cunanan approached him and fired 2 shots at point-blank range. The shots hit Versace in the face and neck. He collapsed on the marble steps, where passers-by and his partner, Antonio D'Amico, found him. Despite efforts to save him, Versace died at the scene.
Police say Versace was shot twice in the head at close range on the steps of his house in South Beach, Miami. Gianni Versace was one of the biggest names in the worldwide fashion industry.
After the murder of Versace, a nationwide manhunt was launched to find Cunanan, who had become one of the FBI's most wanted criminals. Investigators discovered that Cunanan had been hiding in Miami for several weeks before the murder, living in a cheap motel under an assumed name. Authorities combed through Miami Beach, but Cunanan managed to evade capture.
The stranger in the houseboat just might be Andrew Cunanan. Upstairs, in the master bedroom, they found a man wearing only boxer shorts, lying face up on the bed. On his stomach, a .40 caliber gun. He had shot himself in the mouth. Authorities matched the fingerprints on the body to those from the pawn shop. It was Andrew Cunanan.
On July 23, 1997, Cunanan was found dead in a houseboat in Miami Beach. He had shot himself with the same .40 caliber gun he used to kill Versace. Cunanan's suicide brought an end to his killing spree. But his motives for the killing spree remain unclear. If this chilling story left you wanting more, hit subscribe and join us as we dive deeper into the world's most terrifying mysteries.